Welcome to the Have You Met Her Yet podcast, a podcast by Pink Crown Creative. I am your host, Lindsay Dent, the founder of Pink Crown Creative, a Vancouver-based marketing consulting company. This podcast was created to shine a spotlight on women in the workplace, who they are, what they do, why you should know them. In this week's episode, I speak with Shannon from the Collective Alchemy and Unleash Whistler. I look forward to you listening to her story, and I can't wait for you to meet Shannon. I hope you enjoy this episode. Well, welcome everyone back to Have You Met Her Yet? Today I am with Shannon Frame. Shannon, thank you so much for joining me today. I would love it if you could tell us a bit more about your story, what you do, and how did you get to where you are in your career today?
My name's Shannon. I live in Whistler. I used to live in Vancouver for a long time, but I will say that it was kind of when I moved to Whistler, I felt like my life sort of changed for the better into a different direction. And I had always worked in marketing and sales and business development type roles, but as I went through kind of a bit of a trauma or like some issues in my life, probably about 6 or 7 years ago, and so it was kind of at that stage where I really decided I needed to bring something else into my life, and that's where I became a bit more in tune with mindfulness and meditation and things like that. Definitely like very beginner, just like slowly kind of bringing it in, but that's where it kind of all started. And then it was actually last year, about just over a year ago, a friend invited me to come to a breathwork session in Vancouver.
Oh, okay.
And that was, I had done meditation. I'd even gone to like a Buddhist monastery in Sri Lanka and like
Wow.
brought that into my life. But it was really, I went to this breathwork thing. I had, literally no idea what to expect. I even asked her like, am I going to fall asleep at this? And she's like, are you kidding me? Like, but it was, yeah, it turned out I thought maybe I'd just be like sort of relaxing. I wasn't sure what to expect. And then when I left, I walked out of there thinking like, oh my God, my life will never be the same. And so that's where, like, I still do, other types of meditation or mindfulness, but that was where it sort of really transitioned. And I felt like I really needed to learn more about this, and I wanted to share it with other people. And at the time I was working with a company, Franklin Covey, doing work with kids in schools on sort of leadership programs. There was a lot of mindfulness combined into that too, and so it fit nicely into the path that I was going on. And then with the breathwork side of things, I eventually went and did my with a guy named David Elliott. I did my training in California, but I ongoing certification. I feel like it's something that can kind of keep going as a lifetime. So and that's really where it all got started. And then I think things kind of happen in your life. In May, the job that I was working at, they decided to close out a lot of their Canadian operations. So
Okay.
really great, because then a huge window opened up for me to be able to focus more on the breath work and Unleash, another thing that my business partner and I have going on. So that was kind of a real blessing. And then that's where things sort of really started to take off. So quite twisty and turny, definitely not a straight arrow, but here I am, and I feel like it's going to be an ongoing journey. So
yeah, absolutely. And so to share a bit more about that, you have a company called the Collective Alchemy and Unleash Whistler. So if you want to share a bit more about each of those, and maybe we can get into a bit more depth of what those look like.
Yeah, so the Collective Alchemy is the business that I created to do, for right now, it's going to be focused primarily on the breath work that I do. So but I think that will grow in time. So I do one-on-one sessions with breath work with people, and then I also do group sessions that I host. Most of it's within the sea to sky, like Pemberton to Vancouver, basically.
Okay.
And then I do private group sessions as well for people who are more comfortable just doing it with people that they know. So yeah, just a growing, getting it started, getting things going. Have a couple coming up this week on Friday, and then 2 next week as well. So
amazing.
busier. And then the Unleashed is something, this was with my business partner slash very good friend, Jane. People affectionately know her as Organized Jane. And we had always had this crazy idea that we wanted to put together a conference or an event or whatever you want to call it, where we combined her passion for getting people really organized, like their physical spaces really organized, and then my passion, which I share that with her, but also my passion for sort of being mentally, decluttering. So that was the birthplace of Unleashed, and we had our first event on November 15th last year, which because you were there and you helped.
Yeah.
Happy about.
Fabulous event.
Great, thank you. Yeah, it was so fun to do, and so we're going to do another one, I think, in May, and
Great.
Yeah, we're just kind of organizing the date, so the date will be announced soon, and then we're going to do Jane and I are going to do some combined mini workshops, like with her doing some decluttering stuff and then me doing the breath work. So we're going to do a couple of those as well. But yeah, really just kind of a passion project for us. We wanted to build a community around those things, and we just love bringing people together and bringing our passions together. And so yeah, that's Unleashed. So yeah.
Very, very cool. Yeah, thanks so much for sharing that. Yeah, Unleashed was incredible. It was a conference that was held out in Whistler, and I happened to be a sponsor with that. So I came up with a good friend, and we enjoyed such an amazing day in Whistler. I think it really put us in a different environment. I've always known Whistler as this sort of like party place. You go up and ski, or you have like tons of fun in the summer. So as an entrepreneur, it truly opened my eyes to the business world of Whistler, to see that there's many, many like-minded people like myself that I had no idea existed there. So I thought that was really cool. And I really enjoyed the tight-knit community that lives there, and how everyone seemed to know each other. Everyone seemed to really connect and support. And there's just so many incredible stories that I learned that day. So I absolutely can't wait for what you guys create for May. I for sure will be a part of that, because I was so blown away with what I didn't know existed in Whistler. So yeah, I can't wait to see what you guys come up with.
Amazing. Yeah, we can't wait to have you back as well. So I know that, yeah, it could be a surprising place. I think that was part of where Unleashed came from, was Jane. When she moved here, she was like, wow, like there are so many, like just, and it's through to Vancouver, wherever, but like just so many amazing people, like just within such a small community. So we really, wanted to bring attention to all of that, and allow other people to build that community around that as well. So
yeah, absolutely. I love that. So to go back to the breath work, I wondered if you could share a bit more in depth of what that actually is, and what your one-on-one sessions look like for people who have never heard of breathwork before. They're not really sure of some of the healing components around it. If you can maybe go into a bit more detail.
yeah, of course. Breathwork is such a big word. It covers so many different areas, I feel. It's probably, the number one question that I get asked, because people are like, oh, are you just going to help me breathe? Like, well, hopefully you already are breathing. So, but the type that I do, so I'll speak to that one. It's basically it's a two-part conscious and controlled breath. So it comes from the belly through the chest and then out through the mouth. And you do that pattern for, I kind of read people, like depending on the one-on-one or if it's a group. So it can be anywhere from maybe like 20 to 30 minutes or more. And then I have people transition back to their normal breath after that for, let's say, anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes. Again, just kind of watching the group. But it's all seamless. You lay on your back and keep your eyes closed and do that. And the magic typically happens like when you transition from that first type of breathing into your normal breath. So I'm very cautious to share too much about what the experience is like, because it is something that's completely unique to just each person that's doing it.
Right.
Yeah. And often it's like I'll speak for myself, but like when I do it, like one experience one day could be completely different from an experience the other day, which I really do think is the magic behind it, because it's always changing. But I mean, in a general sense, I think I was, really drawn to the breath work just because it's a way to just bring a calmness like into your body. So like you can move yourself, from being a little bit more like jittery, like when your nervous system is like activated into, that parasympathetic nervous system where you're more into that like rest and digest mode. So I think that's, super beneficial. I always kind of equate it like, we go to the gym, we go to see a trainer, we go to acupuncture, we go to this and that, get our haircuts, all of those things. But, we got to do things for our nervous system as well. And so it's kind of like going to the doctor for your nervous system.
Of course, of course.
Yeah, and I think, that can cover so many other things too. So it can help with stress and anxiety, just helping to calm the brain a little bit. It can help, really deep dive into maybe areas that you have trauma or pain in your body. I think that it really does have a miraculous way of helping us, like starting that healing process to move, blockages that you might have. It could be like physical, it could be emotional, it could be mental, it could be spiritual, whatever it might be. But I think if you can come into it with that open mind that, that you do have the power, like with your own breath, you do have the power to do that and start moving those different blockages in your body for that healing. So, so those are some of the things that I think most people would experience. What actually happens like on the inside, that, each individual experience. And it can be pretty crazy, different things that people have happen, but at the worst,
Right.
you're going to leave energized and relaxed. And, hopefully at least you've had a bit of like calmness with your brain as you allow it to just kind of slow down a little bit. So, yeah.
Very, very cool. Yeah, I think that's extremely powerful, what you're doing. I personally have never tried it before, but I have a really good friend that has, and their experience and what they had shared was really fascinating to hear about, and just to hear what was coming up for them, what their experience was. And it was kind of funny because they traditionally would be someone that they mentioned they wouldn't be into this sort of thing. And it surprised them how much they enjoyed it and how much they actually got out of it. So yeah, it's definitely something I want to try out and see. I think that there's many, many ways that we can heal ourselves through just listening to our own bodies and allowing ourselves to go through those types of processes.
Yeah, totally. I mean, breath work is a tool that you can have in your toolkit to do that, one of, many different things. Just for me personally, it just really resonated. But again, each person will be able to decide that. But just thinking about what your friend said, like I find that most people who do it, unless they've done it before, they often don't know really what to expect, and they're often pleasantly surprised, like when they walk away from it, kind of like, wow, like I had no idea that there were all these messages or like, things that I was supposed to learn about like what's happening, because it really does allow you to connect, I think, in a deeper level, like inside your soul, if you want to call it, or whatever word works for people. But
Right.
definitely like on a deeper level. So we'll have to get you to try one. We'll have to make that happen.
Yeah, I definitely will. And I'll have to share my experience after that as well.
Yeah.
So what would you say is your wellness routine? Like, what does that look like? So I'm assuming that you personally include breath work in your daily, if not weekly routine. What other sort of things are you doing in your routine that maybe is helping your business or just yourself personally or professionally?
Um, That's a good question. I feel like there's things that I do, there's things that I wish I did more, and things that I should be doing.
Yeah.
So I guess like, kind of on a weekly slash, try to do it daily basis. A big, I do like to do the breath work. I definitely do not do it daily. That would be a lot. I do go through kind of, phases where I might do it once a week, and then other times I might take 2 months off. It just
Okay.
depends, what I'm feeling. I feel like once a month is probably like a good way to go, because it can be hard. Like it digs up some stuff sometimes that like, I feel like my body is like, oh, I don't know if I'm ready to like get this out. So
Okay.
there's lots of other things that I do to like help with, like what you said with wellness. So, I mean, I live in Whistler, so there's no shortage of outdoor activities. So, like even this morning, I got to go snowboarding from like 8 to 10. So, like that
Amazing.
was, yeah. So our little snowboarding power hour, and then I do like going to the gym. I do, just like normal, meditation where I just without the breath work, but just like a kind of a meditation practice for myself. In the summertime, I do really love mountain biking. When I can, if I could, I would surf every single day if I could. That's
Amazing.
the biggest thing where I can be active, but also be in a completely mindful state.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I would say like just being physical and doing activities, and then combining that with some stillness and just being like in the present moment through meditation or breathwork.
Okay, awesome. That's great. Um, so if you could take your business anywhere in the world, where would you think that you would take it?
Oh goodness, that is a tricky question.
I mean, you live in Whistler already, and that already is a dream for so many people. So, I mean, you could say that Whistler is that, but maybe there's somewhere else that, you would love to kind of take your practice to.
Yeah, I think like in a dream world, if I could, I would spend, maybe let's say for simplicity's sake, 6 months in Whistler, so I
Yeah.
can enjoy snowboarding and maybe some mountain biking and stuff. But I would love to be somewhere like tropical and warm on a beach where I could surf every day. So
Yeah,
there are
yeah.
lots of places out there like that. I don't know which one I would choose. There's so many that I like going to that I don't know. But yeah, in a perfect world, somewhere like that would be a good balance for me.
Yeah. Awesome. I love that.
One day that will happen.
I love that so much. So you mentioned that you work with a really good friend, Jane. Are you able to share a little bit more about what it's like working with a friend or with a partner, and maybe what some of your goals are for Unleash for this year?
Um, Jane is fantastic. So I really I couldn't have asked for anybody better. Like when we first met, it was like kismet. Like we were just like instantly friends. And I think, it took a little while for us to like because she moved from we both lived in Vancouver, but she moved shortly after I met her, and then our paths reunited, and I then kind of convinced her to move to Whistler. And so it was really there that we got to kind of reunite, and it was actually great. So I find the thing that I am most inspired about Jane is that she's just such a go-getter, and she just goes, goes, goes. She has no fear of failing, no fear of like things being perfect. She just does it. And I am like the opposite, where I am like a little more, I do take risks, but I have like this, I do get blocked by like that fear of failure or like things not being perfect, which can like hold me back from like doing things. So
Right.
we were like after Unleash, we had our few little moments, but nothing too big. And the things I think that worked really well was the fact that like she was great. She would just like start something. She just does it, and then I could go in and like kind of finish it, or like vice versa. But she really like inspired me in that way, and so I think that was the lesson for me personally that I think I got from working with her, was just to like do, and things will like fall into place afterward.
Yep.
And so yeah, so we do really want to do the next one. We haven't so the first one, as you know, was really focused on like decluttering, like clutter is chaos, like that type of thing.
Yep.
We're trying to decide. We still want to keep our two passions like that I talked about earlier, but we're just trying to decide if we will keep like very strictly to that theme, or if we may try and like intertwine something else into it. So
Mm-hmm.
we're not totally sure. As far as the format goes, I think, we personally really loved having like the combination of, keynote speakers and a panel and like the breakout workshops and different things like that. So I think we'll try and keep it like that. And we may even have a couple more breakout workshops for people, so it can be a little bit even more choose your own adventure. But
Yeah.
yeah, these are all the details that we're working out, and yeah.
Very cool. And always going to be in Whistler?
Can't say always, but
Okay.
I think the next one will be, but like again, in a dream world, we would love for it to like grow, and grow. And so
Yep.
like if that, we would be super open to doing it in another city, when the time comes to organize it. I mean, Vancouver kind of makes sense because it's, a great, a big city that both of us lived in. It's a
Yes.
city, it's close by, so that could be like maybe one of the first choices where we go if we go outside of Whistler. But
Yep.
we'll do a couple more in Whistler, get those under our belt, and then move forward from there.
Amazing. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
With your career, do you have a professional mentor or someone who has inspired your career this far?
Um, I don't have a mentor right now. Like through other jobs, I have had mentors. in my previous job with Franklin Covey, I worked with he was a coach like within the program that we did with leadership, but I think in some ways he kind of like personally became a bit of mentor for myself. Just he was so inspiring, like the way I would go and, we'd work together a lot in workshops, but he was just so amazing to watch, like the way he could captivate a group of people, and just his path for wanting to like help people, and so I learned a lot from him, and like we're still in touch and friends now. But yeah, I'm actually kind of looking for somebody right now, like who would be a good business coach for me. And I'm just kind of figuring out like what that would look like for me. But
Yeah.
I also want to give like my friends and family credit too, because I feel like I'm just surrounded by a lot of really inspiring people too. And we really do push each other to keep moving and, doing the things that we do. So I feel really, really lucky in that way as well.
Yeah, that's wonderful. It truly makes a world of a difference when we have people that we can lean on, and whether that is sharing ideas, getting feedback, getting support. I mean, it's truly so important to have that. And like you said, having people who are really close to you and can kind of be your cheerleader is incredible.
Yeah, I think it just makes such a difference. Like, when you have those kind of darker moments, and you just, or the lighter ones as well, but like, to have people that you can go to and kind of share, like your insecurities with. And because I mean, well, yeah, maybe you can relate too, but like it's scary when you start a business, like there's,
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
yeah, you want to stay positive and be like, okay, I can do this, I can do this, but like,
Yeah.
fear does creep in. But there's a good book, called The Fear Cure, which is really interesting about like shifting your mindset on like what fear actually is, and like how you can actually use that fear to be channeled into like excitement and motivation and stuff. So when I do feel fear and whatnot creeping in, I often like think of, that book and other things that kind of motivate you more in that sense.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
great. That's really, really cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. How do you keep motivated?
That's a good question. That can be hard sometimes. Like I feel like I definitely have days where I just like don't feel as motivated as others. I find, when that happens, like if I'm not in that headspace where I know that I'm going to do like my best work, I usually just try and like take a step back, I guess. So even if I know I'm like really, really busy at that moment, I know that the better thing for me to do is probably going to be to like go snowboarding or go to the gym or like go meet a friend for coffee or go for a walk or something, and just
Right.
meditate or whatever it might be, and just clear my head so that I can reset and then come back. The other thing too is I find like when I'm really tired, because I'm not the best sleeper, that can also kind of be unmotivating for me. So like going back and I do like to try different things to get like back on a good sleep routine, and catching up there I feel like helps.
Yeah, absolutely. Sleep is everything. And I do find that as well. If there's a night where I'm up all night thinking about something, I wake up the next day and I just don't feel motivated to do anything. So it is important that you do take that time and just say, hey, it's fine. I'm going to take this time and do something that's going to be distracting from the mindset, whether that's snowboarding for yourself, going to the gym, etc. It is important to just take yourself out of that mindset and be okay with it, and listening to what you should be doing to kind of get back on track to get that motivation.
Yeah, totally. And I think you're right. It's like, it's about like accepting that that's okay. Cause I know in my personality too, is I think I'm hard on myself. So like if I don't do it, then I start to feel like bad about not doing it. But then I'm like, okay, that's not very positive. So it's like, yeah, just really, like you said, really accepting that this is what my body needs right now, and that it's going to be better. The
Yeah.
other thing I also love are lists. I really find
Oh, yeah.
so then I can like organize my thoughts. And then as you like tick them off, you're like, okay, I'm feeling good. I'm getting through stuff. Like, okay,
Yes.
just little baby steps to like keep the bigger picture in line.
Oh, yeah, I completely agree. Lists keep me so motivated. And I especially love ticking off things that I've already done, so I can just add that extra tick on there.
I know it feels so good to like scratch something off.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So what would you say has been an incredible resource for you that has been beneficial for you starting your own business?
Um, I think my friends really. I feel really lucky. I've talked to them about them a bit, like very motivating people, but a lot of them do work for themselves and are kind of ahead of that curve to like from me from already starting their own business. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, people like Jane, or I have a couple other friends too who are doing that, and they've been so kind and like welcoming to answer some of my questions just to get started that way, and I just feel like that really has been like an invaluable resource for me.
Oh, that's great. That's really important. Do
Mhm.
you have a personal quote or mantra that you live by?
Yes. Right now, the one that I like yesterday, I went to a yoga class and they're like, "What's your intention?" So like when I do things like that, this is what I like always say to myself, that freedom is found in the present moment.
Oh, I like that.
That's what I'm like living by right now. Just like thinking about that. And like because I know myself, I get, can get caught up in the future, get caught up in the past, and like that's when my anxiety like really starts to spark a bit. And so
Hmm.
I'm always like, no, just come back to the present moment, Shannon. Like come back to that present moment. And then that's like really where I find, things are usually pretty good in the present moment. So
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Has there ever been a time where you felt discouraged in what you were doing or what you were trying to create?
yeah, like maybe every day. I feel
Very true answer.
I hate saying that because it's like, kind of demotivating, but I just feel like it is kind of the reality. Like, yeah, I mean, some days I feel like I'm, flying 10,000 feet above the ground and everything's lining up and I feel really great and like super excited. And then there are other days where I'm like, just feeling really down. And I'm like, I think the biggest thing that I get caught up in for myself is, if I start to go down a bit more of a path of like scarcity, then that's where I like, go to like kind of the dark place. And I'm like, nope,
Right.
go back to abundance, Shannon. Like, there's more than enough for everybody. Like, just keep doing your thing, stay in your lane. It will come, it will come. And like, I like, think of other businesses, like Rome wasn't built in a day, so like you've got to have that patience to like keep going forward.
Yeah.
So that's a big thing, is just like, yeah, being worried about like a little bit what other people are doing and thinking like, oh, I'm behind the curve, like, oh, I wish I did that sooner, like, oh, there's already so many other people doing it.
Yeah.
And just trying to like get out of that mindset. So, and that's my like, yeah, the big one for me that really demotes, like brings me down, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
But yeah.
Um, so if you weren't doing what you were doing now, what do you think you'd be doing and why aren't you, what is holding you back from doing that?
um I don't know. I mean, like, I guess in a dream world, I would love to be, I love traveling.
Yep.
So I guess I always like, there was always that part of me that wanted to be like a travel writer.
Yep.
And I wish that I had started, like when I was starting to travel, like when I was young, I would put these like scrapbooks together and all this. And I used
Oh,
to write
cool.
big emails, which essentially nowadays would be like a blog, but I never posted them anywhere. So that's always been like one of my regrets, that I like never.
Oh.
So I think the biggest thing that's holding me back from doing it now has been just like time, and it's just me not making the time to do it.
Yeah.
Part of the, like, that's why the name that I chose, the Collective Alchemy, and not something to do with breathwork, is because I want it to be, not just specific to breathwork. So I am going to put a travel blog up on that website as well once I, make the time to actually do it. So that's something that I like would really love to do, that I'm just not haven't been doing.
That is amazing. And it honestly is never too late to do those things. I know there's been many times, like I actually started a travel blog years ago when I was traveling through Australia, and I was really great at keeping it up. I kept it up when I went to Europe. And then after that, I just kind of stopped. And I
Yeah.
look back on it, 7, 8 years later, and I think, oh my gosh, I wish I kept that up. So I have a big trip coming up. I'm planning to upkeep that and revamp it. And I just keep thinking, you know what? People are always going to be interested in travel. Those places, I mean, for the most part, aren't going anywhere. Your travels, your adventures, your stories are going to be forever valid, and they're not going to be something that's going to kind of go out of style or, um, anything like that. So yeah, I would say definitely do it. Don't think that, oh, it was years ago, it's over and done with, no one cares. I mean, if it makes you happy and it makes you feel fulfilled, absolutely share it, do it. It's just going to add that different layer to the business and to your personality of what you're going to be sharing with that.
I think so, and I just want to do it. Like, I just think it would be fun to do. Like,
Yeah.
places, it would be so fun to just like kind of go back into those memories and write about it. So yeah, we can both inspire each other to keep doing that. So
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
yeah.
Okay, so what would you say you were most passionate about in your business, and what is something you wish you were more passionate about?
I think that I think the thing that I'm most passionate about is I just want to share it with other people. Like, I want other people to be able to have that, the potential to have that experience, to like have that potential opening, for that type of healing that they could have, to really build a community around that. I'm definitely like a connector, like community type person. So I
Hmm.
would say that, that's something that's really important to me with it. And then something that I wish I had more of, was that what you had asked?
Yep.
Yeah.
Like, what would you want to be more passionate about in your business that you're just not?
Oh, um, maybe social media. It's like,
Yeah.
it's kind of, I know that it's like a means to an end to like, build the business up, but I do find it to be like really overwhelming. And I'm just like, I'm not super good at like doing the self promotion to like grow that side of it. And I wish that I was like a bit more passionate about doing it. So I just need to find, I think, like my sort of niche and how I want, like what I want my whole image to be in that area.
Yeah.
And I think once I find that and am able to like narrow that down, I think that will make that easier for me. So yeah.
Very, very cool.
Mm.
What would you say is the best thing about being a female?
Oh, just in general.
Yeah.
That's an interesting question. I don't. I don't know. I don't have any children so yet, so it's very hard to say that would be. But I would imagine that there must be something very special about being able to, you know, have a child and bring life into this world.
Yeah.
And so I guess, yeah, I mean that's something is that very unique to females. And I think with it comes like that really nurturing, compassionate kind of side that females can have. I'm not going to generalize, but that some can have. I feel that kind of feminine energy in me, and so yeah, I would say that maybe those things are the things that I would really enjoy about being a female, or do enjoy, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's amazing, and it's very true. The woman's body is extremely powerful. That is even something that we can do. So yeah, I think that is incredible. So one of the last questions I have for you is, what is the biggest lesson that life has taught you this far?
The biggest lesson. The biggest lesson I think is to just be open. Like, if you had asked me 5 years ago if this is where I would be and this was the path I would be on and that I would be sharing breath work with other people, I think, I would have looked at you like, I'm not sure that that's going to be true, but
Yeah,
I think I've always been like a really open person, and I think that is truly just when you're more open, I think just more things can flow into your life, whether it's people or experiences or whatever that might be. And I just think that life is more exciting when you're open.
absolutely. Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think that's such a beautiful statement to make.
Yeah, just endless possibilities. I feel like there's so much life can offer. So yeah, why not just be open to it all?
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. So, is there anything else you feel called to talk about or to share? Anything upcoming that you want to promote or that you want to talk about?
Um, no, not really. I just want to say like thank you so much for having me on here,
Oh,
and
you're welcome.
yeah, it was great to chat with you. And if anybody is interested in learning about breathwork, they can always reach out to me. I do post all of my upcoming workshops on Instagram, but then I will be posting them on my website, which is just the name, the Collective Alchemy. It's not quite up and running yet, but yeah, they can always find me on Instagram and go from there if they want to learn more about that or Unleash. So
perfect. And where can they find you on Instagram? Which accounts do you have?
I have two right now. I do have one that is like at the Collective Alchemy.
Okay.
People can find me there. That's going to be like the one that I'm going to use for like anything I'm going to do breathwork related. The Unleash one is just at unleash.whistler. And then I do have my personal one, which is at La Luna Miel, which is always tricky for people. But I am using that one right now to post about the breathwork and other stuff too, just as I grow at the Collective Alchemy one. So yeah. Not
amazing
for everybody, so
that's okay. So we're actually going to add all of that in the show notes as well, so people can actually see if they weren't able to figure out that, so they can click on that. But thank you so much for joining me. I greatly appreciate it. I can't wait for everyone to hear what breathwork is all about, and we will definitely share more about your upcoming Unleash conference, I guess, in May once that's launched.
Perfect. Yeah, I would love that. Thank you so much. And yeah, thank you so much for having me today. It was great chatting with you. So
you're welcome.
I love what you're doing here. It's so inspiring. So
oh, thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. I greatly appreciate the time that you took to listen and learn a bit more about another woman in business who is truly moving and shaking the world. If you enjoyed listening to this episode, please subscribe, rate, review, and share it with a friend who you think might enjoy it too. These small actions truly mean the world to a small business owner like myself. If you're a business owner looking for inspiration and guidance in growing your business, I would love to help you. I also will be giving my listeners $25 off my Creativity Strategy Hour. By using promo code CreativityAndLove, you can use it at checkout and get it on my website, which is available on the show notes, or at www.pinkcrowncreative.com. You can also stay up to date with the latest podcast releases, behind the scenes, and insider info about each guest by following us on Instagram at Have You Met Her Yet series, or by signing up for our weekly newsletter, which will bring each episode right to your inbox. Thank you so much for listening. It truly means the world. We wish you a wonderful week and hope that it is filled with creativity and love.